Good evening and welcome. I would like to open the public portion of the May 13th, 2026 Richfield Park Board of Education meeting. The time is now 7:35 p.m. Apologies to our student representatives for us running late. Let's begin with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Hayes, may you please read the Open Public Meetings Act?
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Ridgefield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bergen Record, Star Ledger, Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. Public participation instructions. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments are limited to 5 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating virtually, telephonically, via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during public participation will need to raise their hand by clicking the blue hand icon at the bottom of their Zoom window. Individuals participating by telephone that wish to make comments during public participation will need to hit *9 on their telephone to raise their hand. The Business Administrative Board Secretary will then unmute individuals one at a time to speak in the order that their hand was raised.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. May I please have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Here.
Trustee Kraft.
Here.
Trustee Feitros. Trustee McNeil.
Here.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Here.
Trustee Schmidt. Trustee Velez. Trustee Orth.
Here.
President Martinez.
Here, we have a quorum. Mr. Malou, can you please move the March 25th, 2026 executive and full board meeting minutes?
Second.
I am a second. May I please have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Abstain.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Orth.
Yes.
President Martinez.
The resolution passes. The board received one letter for the board on a residency issue, not happy with the manner in which the matter was communicated to them and the residency policy itself. I'll make a brief comment that the current policy is a state mandated policy, not ours, and that the board and the administration are keenly aware of how difficult and sensitive these matters are, both from the parent and the child perspective and from the taxpayer perspective. I've shared with this board that my wife was pulled out of her high school during her senior year and it affected her for many years. It still bothers her to this day. For some struggling students, a move like that can actually break them. I've only seen this board be as thoughtful and compassionate as we can be during these difficult cases. While we know that some moves cannot be anticipated and are born out of hardships and sometimes even tragedies, we ask that to the best of your ability, parents do their best to time their moves along with the school calendar, to communicate with the school district so as to prevent putting their children and the district in these unfortunate predicaments. We'll now move on to subcommittee reports. Buildings and Grounds, Trustee Orth.
Sorry. The Buildings and Grounds Committee met on May 4th, 2026. Present were Dr. V, Ms. Triglia, Dr. Hayes, Mr. Igu, Ms. Velez, Ms. Schmidt, and President Martinez. Agenda items included the junior senior high school athletic fields update. Dr. V and his team met with the engineering group overseeing the town field project. The engineers confirmed plans to install a higher end turf and reviewed the project with the group. gathering feedback at the mayor's request. They hope to begin construction as soon as possible. As a result, all home games may need to be reorganized. There was also discussion about the ownership of the field house. We're awaiting further documentation of that. It is believed that the high school owns the field house. The current tract, it was determined that the board owns the current track. And the town, by the architect and the town engineers. As part of the project planning discussions, there is a possibility for the town projects or the town parks project to include the track. If that is the case, I'm sorry, I wasn't at this meeting, so I'm reading notes from somebody else.
I'll apologize. Those notes are mine. It's totally the way she's reading it is completely my fault. She's a lovely reader.
In the meantime, Ms. Cavens, the high school principal, is looking into adding signage indicating that the track is reserved for student use during school hours. There was a discussion about the Grant pre-K playground and sidewalk. There's currently a proposal for Grant School to add a small pre-K playground outside the classroom area on the side of the building. The district has previously reached out to Cara Rubio regarding the possibility of adding an additional classroom in that area. The space is currently underutilized, containing a tree and uneven ground that is not well leveled. Rod Grant update. We are chipping away at the work being done on the Grant and Roosevelt School. We are hoping to be completed by the end of August. Projects are going as planned. Next meeting will be held on June 8th. And hopefully Carol will be back and give you a better update.
Thank you, trustee Orth. Finance and Insurance, trustee McNeil.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met on May 4th. In attendance were Dr. Vespignani, Ms. Triglia, Dr. Hayes, Mr. Matisich, myself, Dr. Martinez, Ms. Rodriguez, and Ms. Velez. We reviewed the Fort Lee Transportation Agreement, which is on tonight's agenda, and confirmed that the amounts being charged are appropriate. We discussed the Fund 90 update. That's the fund that we are still trying to make sure is completely reconciled with the move to Systems 3000 earlier in the year, and got the update that excuse me, that the auditor will ensure that at the end of this school year, that will be completely reconciled and written off so that the agency portion reflects it correctly. We reviewed the bills list with no questions on bills greater than 50,000, no questions on transfers. We also went over the cash report and the treasurer's reports for funds 10, 20, and 30. And thank you to Dr. Hayes for ensuring that our January and February and March are caught up on today's agenda. The user-friendly budget was posted on our website as required in the time frame, so it is out there for anyone who wants to go ahead and take a look at it. It's on rpps.net. Our next meeting is June 8th.
Thank you, trustee McNeil. Faculty and Programs, trustee Rodriguez.
Good evening. The F&P Personnel Committee met on May 5th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Those in attendance, Superintendent Dr. Vespignani, Assistant Superintendent Carmela Triglia, Board Vice President Trustee Orth, Trustees Crafts, Coloma, and myself. The committee reviewed several personnel, staffing, and instructional matters for the 2026-2027 school year. The administration presented information on potential new K-5 ELA curriculum programs. Additional discussion focused on family support services related to FAFSA, completion, and financial aid guidance. The committee also reviewed unaffiliated staff requests. Meeting was adjourned at 6:16. Next meeting, June 9th, 2026.
Excellent report, trustee Rodriguez. Policy, trustee Orth.
The policy committee met on May 5th at 6 o'clock. Present were Dr. V, Ms. Triglia, myself, Dr. Martinez, Ms. Coloma, and Ms. Smith. We discussed the long-awaited AI policy and plan. thank you all for your hard work. I know that there was a lot of work that went into it since I served on a similar district, a similar committee in my district. So much appreciated all this hard work. And the accompanying academic integrity policy, which needs to be updated in light of AI. Next meeting is to be determined based on when the next policy alert comes out.
Thank you, trustee Roth. Negotiations, trustee McNeil?
Thank you. The negotiations committee did not meet, but we did get our date for mediation. The first date will be May 21st.
Thank you. And without further ado, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Martinez. Good evening. First, I respectfully submit the HIB report that was presented to the board in executive session. There are no new HIB cases to report. Also, I'm pleased to share the 24-25 district and school official HIB grade report with a district grade of 74. And superintendents are required to report out at a board meeting. So you may recall earlier this year, by way of our self-assessment, Grant had self-assessed at a score of 73, Lincoln at 74, and Roosevelt at 74, and the junior senior high school at 75. And the commissioner has concurred, and we have our final report, which has now been posted on the district website. All of the areas where we self-assessed were agreed upon. Pleased to turn to our student reps, Sienna and Miana, for their report. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miana Almonte, the Student Government Vice President.
And I'm Sienna Sangüesa, the Junior Student Government Vice President.
We are both very happy to be here reporting tonight. With the end of the year coming up, we speak on behalf of the senior class and stating that these last few weeks are bittersweet. We are looking forward to some great events planned for us in addition to the prom next week. And it's been memorable for and for some 6 years at Richfield Park Junior Senior High School. To begin, I want to give a quick recap about our spring sports. For our spring track highlights, Francisco then took first place in the javelin at the county group championships. Other varsity medalists include the boys 4x100 of Isaiah Carlos, Rusty Catala, Azari Duffus, and Nasir Robinson. The 4x400 of Azari Duffus, Joe Hurl, Kiev Bayona, and Nasir Robinson. And the girls 4x100 of Shea Johnson, Cyan Harwood, Samantha Arroyo, and Rena Arroyo. Next up for the track team will be this weekend's state sectional championships. Teachers Appreciation Week was celebrated the week of May 4th through 8th. At the junior senior high school, the teachers were celebrated on Friday with a thank you from Mrs. Cavens of Custom Donut Wall from the local business Off the Wall Donuts, along with coffee and tea. The festivities continued that afternoon with the annual luncheon sponsored by the PTSA. On Wednesday, there was a gift card raffle each period, with the lucky winner receiving a gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. And this was the second year of our Lens on, which was in fall, winter, and spring. In an effort to generate interest in the town's nature preserve, any students at RPHS was able to submit a photo taken with the DSLR or mirrorless camera using manual controls only to enter any of the 3 contests. Winners were chosen by various local officials and received a $50 gift card canvas print of their work and will have a print on a display at the nature preserve. On Friday, May 1st, in the middle, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I'll give it to Sienna now.
On Friday, May 1st, and the middle and high school ESL group took a trip to the Lower East Side, Manhattan for a walking tour. This trip was an amazing opportunity for our students to learn and experience the rich history of immigrant communities in the New York City area of which they are now a part. Selected students from the chorus attended music in the parks. This was an excellent opportunity for them to perform for external and receive feedback on their performances and progress. Mr. Steffen's aviation class went to Morristown Airport for Aviation Day. Students sat in fire trucks that were first on scene on the tarmac that clear the runways for any aircraft accident. They went into the Paramount Plus hangars with their private jets and spoke with all branches of aviation, from aircraft refueling to air traffic control to border security. The second blood drive of the school year was held on April 15th in the Ox Gym and organized by Ms. Cameron, Nurse Erin, and the Future Health Professionals Club. There were 22 donors that registered with Vitalant, including 6 staff members. Vitalant collected 16 regular donations and 6 double reds, more doubles than usual. The blood collected is used to help hospital patients within the local community and nationwide. Members of the Future Health Professionals were on hand to assist the Vitalant staff and the donors before and after their donation. We are looking forward to hosting the next blood drive in October. That's all we have to report tonight. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your report. At this time, we can excuse you so you can get home and get some rest for tomorrow. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, and lastly, as part of my superintendent's report, I'm pleased to welcome Miss Melissa Del Russo, who is the field service rep serving Bergen County for NJ School Boards, who will have a presentation on the superintendent evaluation process. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, it's working. Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa, New Jersey School. Listen to me. Okay, hello. All right. Hi, everybody. Once again, I'm Melissa from New Jersey School Board Association. I am your field service representative for New Jersey School Board Association. So since it's my first time here, I just want to give you a little heads up. I have let's just say I come from where you are, okay? I was on my local Oltapan Board of Education for 9 years. So I understand what you do and I appreciate what you do. So if I can be of any assistance whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions, just so that you know, I don't know what your experience is with New Jersey School Board Association, but all districts are members of New Jersey School Board Association, which means you're members, and I am your resource. So if you have any questions when it comes to board governance or anything board related, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call me. I'm happy to help you with research if you have questions. We have a ton of information on the website for New Jersey School Board Association, but sometimes it could be difficult to find that information. So if you need some information, shoot me an email, give me a call. I will find that for you and get it to you. We know what a big paycheck you get at the end of the month for doing this job, right? And I appreciate that. So I want to save you as much time and work as possible. And that's what I'm here for. So tonight we're going to talk about the CSA evaluation process and tools. And I'll get right into it. And while we're doing this, please don't hesitate if you have questions. I'd rather it be more interactive. Don't hesitate to ask me questions during the process, okay? Of course.
All right. I just want to say my first terms as a board member, I was on the phone with our representative at least once a week, sometimes for an hour or more. And so I wanted to encourage every board member, and you don't have to go through the board president to speak to NJ school boards. So I just want to encourage anybody, if you have questions about our procedures here, what we're doing, what's right and wrong, as well as other resources, like school boards is really a good resource.
Right. And what we talk about will stay between us unless you're talking about, you want to pull somebody else in, or if I need to reach out to somebody else within New Jersey School Board Association, because I'm your field service representative, but we also have, legal department, we have policy department, we have all kinds of things that back me up. So anything that we could talk about will stay with us. I don't go back and call your superintendent or your board president and say, we had this conversation. Okay. So you should feel comfortable with that. Okay. So we're going to talk about the superintendent evaluation tool. To start off with, just a reminder that any board member whose relatives work in the district may not take part in the superintendent evaluation process. Okay, so what you want to do is make sure you let your board president know, and then he can let me know, and then I will mark you off in the system so you're not getting the emails. Okay, so you will get an email when the time comes to do your part of the evaluation. When you get that, if it still comes through and you get it, just don't open it and don't do it. You should not be reviewing the evaluation tool if you are conflicted. Evaluation of the chief school administrator is the board's means of oversight and appraisal of the effective management of the school district. So before I came into this role, I just assumed that it was required that every board member complete, and any board member who is not conflicted, right? Because that's the way our district did it. Having come into this role now, I am learning that there are many districts that have trouble getting their board members to do the evaluation. So what I'm going to say is there are a few very important roles that board members play. And one of them is the budget process, which you just went through. And I'm sure that was fun because most districts have had a really hard time with it. So that being said, this is another very, very important role. This is how you evaluate. This is your only opportunity to evaluate how the district's doing on an annual basis. Okay, so you are evaluating your superintendent, but you're evaluating your superintendent based on goals and leadership, right? And it's how the district is moving in the direction it needs to move. That is your authority to do that. You do not evaluate anybody else in the district. So I encourage you to take full part in this process and be heard on that during that process. Okay. So legally, again, it's the board's role to evaluate the superintendent once a year, and this is by statute. Evaluation must be in writing. The board and the superintendent meet to discuss the findings, and the evaluations based on goals and objectives of the district, responsibilities of the superintendent, and other such criteria prescribed by the State Board of Education. Another important piece is that the evaluation summary where you have the discussion with your superintendent must take place by July 1st. Okay. And we'll get through all the ways that the evaluation, the things that it takes into consideration. Okay. So CUSAC, when was the last time you had CUSAC review? You're in it now? Next year? Okay. So this is really important because as you can see, the evaluation, I won't get too into CUSAC, but if you ever want me to come back, I can give you a whole thing on that. But there are pieces that the board is responsible for with CUSAC, and this is one of them. And this is an easy, as you can see, 13 points. You just need to do the evaluation, and you need to make sure it's done before July 1st. And there's 13 points. So grab the points where you can get them. Okay, so do you need to use the New Jersey School Board Association evaluation tool? No, you do not. That is not what is required by statute. However, the tool was created in partnership between New Jersey School Board Association, who represents the school board members, and the NJASA, which represents the superintendents. So it was a collaborative process. And it took 2 years, from what I understand. It was before my time. And I will say that now the superintendent's group is talking about possibly changing it up again. But the point is, it is important that you use a tool that is agreed upon between the board and the superintendent. And it must be in writing. That's key. Okay. So one of the things, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this because there's a process, and we've already gotten through part of the process. And that is that when you reorganize your board after election, all that information is updated in the New Jersey School Board Association census, where the data goes. So we have access to who the president is and those kind of things. So this is telling you that you need to make sure that data is updated. You're in good shape. I checked before I came. And the other key piece here is you are responsible if you are conflicted to make sure that you don't do the evaluation. Okay. Or if you're not sure, you can speak to the board attorney. You can, just make sure that the board president knows if you are conflicted and that if you're staying out of it. If you are, that also means that you will recuse yourself from executive sessions discussing the review as we go through the process. Okay, so it's not just a matter of not doing the review. Do you currently have a CSA evaluation calendar planned? So that's a question for the board president. Do you have your calendar outlined?
Evaluation, I don't think we.
Yeah, so your deadlines are due. We'll get into it. Don't worry if you
Yeah.
don't. We're going to talk about it tonight. But what you're going to want to do is make sure you set those deadlines. And again, the board will need parameters on when they need to get things done because we're working backwards from July 1st. And we want to make sure that you have your summary with your superintendent prior to July 1st. That's key. I'm going to skip this because you're good. The business administrator has updated everything. So that's good. Once again. Okay. So this is a sample evaluation calendar and Dr. Martinez, I will give you a couple of copies of that as well before I leave. So it outlines the time frame. Yeah, I also have one that you could write on. So yeah, by the way, everything that I'm covering is going to be in those packets that I gave out to you, those little booklets. Hold on to them. They're helpful. They give a lot of screen prints and pretty much everything we're covering here is in there. So just so you know, the evaluation process is cyclical. Okay. So realistically, it starts with your district goals and action plans and regular progress updates. So it doesn't matter what you're doing now. Think going forward is key. So once you've made your district goals, you should make sure that you're getting regular updates as a board on the progress of those district goals. You are required, again, by statute to have district goals. You're not required to have board goals, although it's best practice and you should. Just understand the difference. District goals versus board goals. District goals are required. Okay. And the superintendent tends to drive that. And then the board works in partnership with it. Okay. I'm going to just say a little piece on that. When your superintendent has, you're going to come into agreement on the goals, but your superintendent is going to create your action plans. Okay. That's really important that you don't drive that. Because once you've set up the goals, it is the role of the superintendent to make it happen, right? Once you've agreed upon them. You don't want to go muddying the water or going into the weeds by dictating the action plans. That is not the role of the board. And the reason that's important, because once you've done that, you have now taken, when you go to evaluate later on, if you've set the guidelines and constraints around that process, you can't hold your superintendent accountable for what you have required them to do in a way that you've required it to do it, instead of letting them do their job, which is to make it happen. Okay. So just something to mention while we're going through that. So again, updates are really important. If you're not going to do updates, if you're going to set your goals and then look at the end, there's no sense in doing goals because the idea is to see the progress. Also, be aware, goals are fluid. Okay. They're not carved in stone. They are, you don't get to change them just because you're not going to make them happen. That's not the point. But what I'm saying is sometimes outside factors happen. And I always use the example of COVID, obviously. So sometimes things beyond control or that you weren't going to be aware of at the time the goals were set may need you to either focus and change what you're doing on those goals mid-year, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, those are really, or it may even make it impossible. Again, COVID, there were superintendents obviously out there did a whole lot of stuff and probably didn't hit one of their goals, right? But that doesn't mean that they didn't do a great job. So that's the key of what the message I'm trying to say here. Just keep those things in mind. Okay, so as we talked about, you have your district goal setting, your regular updates, your superintendent evaluation pre-conference. That should be at a point, and that probably has already happened, where your superintendent has given you the most recent update on the goal progress. The superintendent completes the district goals and self-assessment and evidence of the 6 leadership standards. When he's complete, and Dr. V, I do believe you did yours already, if I remember correctly. Okay, I remember getting an email. I'm getting bombarded with them, so time just kind of morphs together. Okay, so within 48 hours, the board will be getting an email telling you you can go in and do your part. So you'll be able to get started as soon as you get that email. And again, if you're conflicted, don't open it. You will, and this is where, Dr. Martinez, you're going to set some timelines around when they need to complete it. I will tell you, giving extra time doesn't mean that it's more likely to get done. I encourage everybody to get in there and get it done, because the more time you have, you tend to wait to the last minute. The quicker you get it done, the easier it is on everybody. So the Board of Ed completes their part. Non-conflicted board members meet to review the compiled. So once you're done, your board president will let me know you are done. I will put together a report, send it to your board president, which is a compilation of everybody's input. And we're going to go through what that looks like and what those slides look like. But just going over the cycle. Just know when you fill this out, it is anonymous, right? So you're not identified with what you're putting in there. Your comments are not identifiable. Your rankings are not identifiable. And every time you go in and pull a report from the system, it randomizes it each time. So when I pull it, I save it into a PDF, send it off to the board president. If for some reason he needed another copy, if I went in again, it wouldn't look exactly the same. Obviously, the sentences will be, but they're going to be mixed up in the comments. The point of that is if you go to the tracking form and you see, oh, Mary finished it first and Joe finished it last, it doesn't mean all the first comments are Mary's and all the last comments are Joe's. Okay, so everything is randomized. So once he receives that, your board president will meet with the board and you will all have a copy. You will review it. You will come to the majority opinion, and then your board president or somebody designated by your board president will create the summary report. And we will provide you, when I send you that compilation report, you'll get some other stuff as well, including the template to do the summary report. You do not share your compilation of everybody's rankings and stuff like that with the superintendent. Some districts do. I recommend you don't. That's what you use to create your summary from. Okay. And the reason for that is your summary is the majority opinion. So as a board, you're one voice, right? Even though you're several members and diverse opinions and everything else, the board decisions are made by majority with one voice from the board. That's why it's important that you're putting that summary together and going with the majority. That being said, dissenting opinion can be vocalized. It's just not put in writing. It can be vocalized when you meet with your superintendent to review that summary sheet. That is your opportunity as a board member. If you have a dissenting opinion and you want to have that discussion, that is your opportunity to do that.
Just for clarification,
Yeah.
so we're not averaging out the comments made by everyone. We're taking the majority.
Okay, so the old-fashioned way of doing it, and I caution you because a lot of districts are starting to use AI to try to summarize this. I caution you in doing that. If you do something like that, take out any identifiable markers in there so that you don't have all that out there. But the way you would do it is you'd go through the summary and you'd highlight what is the majority opinion. And then you, as the board president, will go back and use those highlighted statements, right, to wordsmith a summary for each one. And that's the key way. We'll see the rankings and how that falls out. And then I'll tell you the latest question that I got hit with. That kind of surprised me. I'll explain that. So anyway, you'll do that part. Once you have your summary document put together, the board president will meet with the superintendent. It's a 5-minute meeting. You're going to hand over your summary form a couple of days in advance of your summary conference. One of the biggest things you'll hear from school boards and from myself over and over again is there's no surprises at the table. So the point of that is your superintendent's going to have the opportunity to read through that. And again, the board president doesn't have to have a conversation and a big discussion because you will have that summary meeting with the entire board at that time. When that happens, the superintendent also has the opportunity to add language to the summary if they choose to do so, if they don't agree with certain things. And at the end of that, you will both sign off on it, both the board president and the superintendent. And that's how the whole cycle goes. Okay. So now we're going to go into each one of these pieces that I just mentioned. So I will go through these quickly. The pre-evaluation conference is where I had told you is the updates by the superintendent. So I'm sure that that part has happened. But the latest update is what you're looking at, what you're considering. What do we have here? This is the assessment. 3 to 5 of the most critical focus areas for the year, annual collaborative process between the board and the superintendent. Some goals also, by the way, may be multi-year. So a lot of times if a district has a strategic plan, it is based on multiple years, and some of those items might be goals. So if a superintendent is in progress, it doesn't mean that they haven't met it. It just might be a multi-year goal. So that's just something to consider as well. And then let's see. Yeah. So then there'll be action plans at the end, but we'll go through these again in a little more detail, slide by slide. So this is the homepage of New Jersey School Board Association. You as a board member will log into New Jersey School Board Association. You go halfway down the homepage and that's what you're going to find. It's right there. CSA and board self-evaluation. Okay. That's where you're going to click on it. And again, all these pictures are in your booklets there. All right. So your superintendent has put in the district goals and done a self-assessment on them. Pay attention to attachments. There's usually a link in there. That's the evidence of that the superintendent has put in to show the progress on those goals. Look for that and take the time to review it. I will tell you, my first year doing this, they're not that easy to find. I mean, they're in there and you'll see them highlighted in your book as well. But I didn't even realize they were there and I completely missed the boat on that. So just being honest, they do a lot of work on this and it's really important. And I did end up finding it after we did the review and had the opportunity to go and see it. And it was just a lot of things that I didn't even realize had been done. Okay.
How much time should we, on average, like how much time does it really take to do this evaluation?
It's going to take you probably about, I would say about 2 hours if you're really reviewing it. And it could be even a little bit more than that. What you can do is you can go in there, you can start it, you can stop, you can go back. And so as you see in here, there's a comment section in each section that you do. So you're going to go through, you're going to do your ratings. The comments are really, really important. Again, remember, this is your opportunity to provide that feedback. And there's going to be times as you're going through this, it seems very repetitive and you're like, I can't even think of another comment right now. It's okay. Put a space in there, put a dot in there, move ahead. I recommend you go back to it later to fill in what you didn't complete. But even if you feel like there's something repetitive and you just don't have a comment for that, or you just have a short comment, that's fine. Okay. What you don't want to do that is for every section. The comments are important. All right. And you go back through. I'm going to explain why they're repetitive in a few minutes. So I keep saying it, but I don't want you to think it's not really a negative here. So here is a sample of a compilation for the goals. So you can see there, you have the ratings, the superintendents where the X is, the superintendent self-evaluated that it was achieved. And then you see the board members. So it's a nine-member board. 7 have it as achieved. 1 has it as satisfactory progress made, and 1 has little or no progress made. So obviously, the board summary is going to show it as achieved. There's 2 outliers on there that would have the opportunity to say why they didn't think that was the case. Okay. And that's why I say majority opinions. Let me just ask this question too. Are there any new board members that were for this year? You came on in January. So while you're doing this evaluation, you also might have the opportunity to mark down not seen or whatever that term is on here. Don't be afraid to use that if you aren't aware of something or you haven't actually witnessed it. I'm going to caution you that you are evaluating your superintendent since January. Even if you went to board meetings for 2 years and know the lay of the land, that is not what you're basing you're basing it on sitting at that table, because it's a very different role than when you're sitting in the audience. Okay. And that also goes to if you are a parent of students in the districts and stuff like that, make sure you're doing your evaluation with your board member hat on. Okay. So after you get through the goal section, we then have the professional standards for educational leaders. And again, these were all put together between a combination of New Jersey School Board Association and the superintendent group as well. It reflects qualities and values of leadership work integral to student success. It assists the board in identifying areas of strength and where more focus is needed. So these are the standards, and it's mission, vision, core values. Then there's governance, ethics, and professional norms, operations management, curriculum instruction assessment and school improvement, community of care, equity and family engagement, and professional capacity, community of school district personnel. Okay, so this is why it takes 2 hours, because there's quite a few sections here. And this is what it looks like when you go in it. So again, you'll see each standard has an explanation or definition to it. And, you know, you're going to read that. And I guess the first one's mission, vision. I can't see it from here. But, and then it also explains the ratings, right? Exemplary, proficient, area for growth. And then, like I said, not observed as you work your way through it. Make sure you understand those definitions. Remember, there's 9 voices here, and you're going to come out with a voice of 1. So as tedious as this may seem, because as you go down this and you see the standard indicators, right? There's multiple things that you're going to be rating there. And then when you get all the way down to the bottom, it's board members' assessment of the standard. So it's an overall assessment. The reason for the repetitiveness is to try to get 9 people to kind of look at this process in the same way. So yes, it's repetitive, but there's a purpose for that. Because if everybody is reviewing in a different way, the message is going to be completely missed, right? So it's trying to make sure that you're staying on track, evaluating in the way that you should be evaluating, and, you know, keeping the train on the rails, I guess. Any questions so far? All right, so this is a sample of the compilation. So now this is within your standards, and you'll see it's interesting because you get to see what their process, right, of getting to the bottom number or the bottom assessment. And you'll get to see the different perspectives. Sometimes you might know who they are, and sometimes you don't, depending on as you go through it. But down at the bottom where it says you have one person that said that standard number 2 is exemplary, 5 that said proficient, 2 said areas for growth. So the voice of the board is going to be proficient because that's where your majority is. Again, when I say dissenting opinion has the opportunity to speak at the summary conference, dissenting opinion is not always meant to be negative. Dissenting opinion could be like, wow, you really hit it out of the park. I don't know how everybody else doesn't see that, or I don't know why you didn't see that kind of thing. So that opportunity also exists in the summary conference. So I was asked a question, what if you have 3, 3, and 3, right? So if you have 3 exemplary, 3 proficient, and 3 areas for growth, that was an easy one, they told me. You would go with the middle, right? Because that's pretty much how you would end up, right? Go in the middle of the road. Okay. Yes. You still might have a tie somewhere else, right? So I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. And by the way, I come from a board of 5, so it was a little bit easier. But what I will tell you is if you don't see a straight majority, that's why you have a summary conference. Have the conversation. When you have that conversation, you should all come to a consensus on it, somewhere middle ground in what you view. Again, sometimes that's because people are looking at things very differently, and it might help if you have a conversation on it. Yes, question. Yes.
Can I ask, if the dissenting opinions are not included as part of the summary comments?
Correct.
So that's just made, so the summary comments should only support
The majority.
the majority opinion.
Right. And
Okay.
again, but the opportunity is to verbalize it.
Right.
Okay. Now, that being said, if you're not comfortable on certain things and haven't witnessed certain things as you go through this, you're free to also do the not observed. Okay.
Sending district representative could tank the evaluation on the superintendent. We aren't on his behalf.
But it won't, because it's the majority. And that is the key, right? I will verify that just as a heads up when I go back. I haven't answered that question before, but I'm 99% sure on my answer. But I will verify that. I will send that response to the president and make sure that you have that tomorrow. Okay. But yes, I mean, they have a voice, they have a seat, they have a vote. It should all play in.
I'll comment that we're really blessed because we only have one new board member, and we've been through the process a couple of times now, this Spain board, and we've been pretty good.
Okay, good.
Everybody's been fair.
I hope I'm giving you, well, maybe you're way ahead of it than I was. You know, even as I started doing this, I didn't understand the reason for the repetitiveness of this. And you really start to realize, yeah, it's a little cumbersome, but there's a purpose for it. And it's important to understand that because, you know, you're evaluating an individual. And And again, 9 voices, trying to get that together is difficult. And making sure you're on the same page. And again, that's why the majority is you can't have somebody that can just tank it. Sometimes you have rogue board members. Sometimes you have people with completely different agendas, or they're new board members and they come on with a chip on their shoulder versus, I'm not saying you did, I'm just looking at you. I didn't mean to do that. But you understand what I mean. And that is why it's designed this way. And that is why I encourage you not to share the compilation. Because if you have one outlier, you don't need your superintendent to have that in their mindset that there's somebody out there that's that far off. It's just, you know, I guess human nature. You don't want to create that kind of conflict.
Do you recommend sharing the summary report with the board before,
Yes. Yeah.
during that meeting?
If you can do it while you're in that meeting, it's great.
Mhm.
The other thing that you can do is if you don't have another meeting scheduled, and again, obviously this all happens in executive session, and the superintendent must be riced for any of those executive session meetings. You can, and again, boards all do it differently, and some are more comfortable depending on their board and how long they've worked together and how many people are on the board. You can send this out. I would be very careful. If I were to send it to the board, I would put it into a password protected document. I would send your password separately. That's how you will get things from me. And I would, make sure that's careful. And then I would send it out to your board members. If you don't have the time to meet for their feedback, remember, as board members, you're going to provide the feedback to the president independently. You're not going to do it in a group. You're not going to create a meeting that doesn't exist, right? Like, you want to be careful of all those things. So when you respond, you're going to go right to the board president if there's something you don't agree with. And again, I did have that issue when I was on my board. And I remember those calls going back and forth of, this isn't what that said. I don't know why you think that to the board president versus what we were seeing. So yes. Yeah, you just definitely want to make sure as the board president that you're hearing your board and you're sending that message. Okay. Okay, so the annual performance report, we've covered this as well. You're going to use there's 50 slides on the same thing, just so you know here. They really want you to understand this process. So there's a lot of different pictures. You have them in your book. And again, it goes through the steps that you're going through that we've covered. This is an example of the summary form that I will be sending to you that you will fill out. Again, in your booklet, you'll get a better view of it. Okay. All right. So this is some of the key takeaways here, right? Only non-conflicted board members, again, are in that summary meeting with your superintendent. There's a RICE notice to the superintendent prior to that meeting. You're going to share the CSA evaluation with the CSA prior to conference. As I mentioned, you will give it a few days before. The majority of the total members are what obviously need to be there. Minority opinion may be expressed verbally. We don't want it in writing in the summary. And minutes of the executive session should reflect annual superintendent summary conference was held. There's not going to be any details in there. Okay. So next steps, again, what I've covered, after you do your part, I will compile the report, send them off to the board president. You will have your conference of just the board to go over those findings. You will RICE the superintendent. You'll get as much information from your board, knowing your majority opinion. If you have the time to go through those comments and highlight what you feel is the majority opinion, and then you will write your performance report. Again, I will provide you with that template, and then you will RICE notice the superintendent and have that summary conference with the superintendent. All before July 1st.
Do you recommend that we keep, if I'm filling this as the board president, it's probably going to be Michelle, she's done it before. Do we keep the individual responses as artifacts?
I would keep them with your copy, one of them with your final copy. Everybody else, sometimes boards will collect them back. You should shred them. Remember, these are personnel documents. You don't really want them, right? You don't want to hold on to them. You don't want to be responsible for them. So that's up to the board. All boards do it differently, but understand your role as a board member. These are confidential. Under no circumstances should they get out of your control. Under no circumstances should anybody else see them. Okay.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about that right here who keeps a copy. So it's really important that the board president has a copy and the superintendent has a copy. Those are the two copies. We recommend that the board president keeps the board's copy with your board attorney. Okay, your board attorney can keep your folder for you. And then if you switch board attorneys, that's fine. You get your folder back with all your history and you pass it on. Because obviously board presidents switch over. And also you really don't want that in your house or whatever. And the same thing for the superintendent. We recommend that the superintendent keeps their own copy at home. You don't want to keep those records in the board office because you have obviously confidential secretaries and things like that that have access to all personnel records. And in all honesty, nobody should have the superintendent's evaluation within the district. Okay. And I will tell you this, New Jersey School Board Association does not keep it. So after the year, January of the following year, we delete everything. It's really important you keep that copy. I will not have a copy. I won't, even though I sent it to you, I won't have the copy because it will all be deleted. Because again, New Jersey School Board Association doesn't want to hold these either. They're personnel records. So we wouldn't want to be, if you're hacked or whatever, you don't want to have that stuff out there.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a question? Dr. V, what have we done in the past? Like, do we store one in the district? Or do you just have your copy or?
It's placed in my file and then I have a copy.
So there is your file is housed in district?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
You should put that file with the board attorney. I mean, if you're, it's up to you if you're comfortable with it, but the idea that other employees, district employees would be able to have access to that in some way, it's just not appropriate for them to have that information. So that's why we say, let the board attorney keep it. And then again, if you switch, they give you back the file. That's all.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay, so a few takeaways here. Remember, this is not a once a year event. It is a cycle. Review the performance over a full year. There shouldn't be any surprises. Again, it shouldn't be a surprise to the board whether or not the district goals, you don't want to wait until just before you're going to do your evaluation. You should know. You should be able to know how your district's doing on those. Okay. Develop a system to retain evidence. That's more for the superintendent so that they're not recreating everything right before the evaluation. Progress updates and two-way communication are critical. Responsibility of all eligible members to fully participate. I can't say this enough because I'm truly shocked that there are board members that don't take this opportunity. But it is very important. That being said, for the board president, I would give, when you come up with your timeline, that you give yourself 1 or 2 days just in case you have a straggler, but make sure you cut it off because don't wait for a board member to say, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it. 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 If you have to cut it off, you don't want to miss that July 1st date. Okay. And that's it. Anybody have any questions?
One question. So in the past, we've had a little bit of a difficult time kind of delineating between how the district is doing and how the superintendent is doing. And in some categories, I think it was very difficult for us to tell, like, are we doing well? Even we weren't doing well as a district. Like, we were just, the fire had just been put out. But it kind of bled into the superintendent. Can you give us language to delineate and
Yeah.
keep those two apart?
All right. So first of all, the first section is the board goals. So that's pretty much removed because it's not a personal thing. It's figuring out where the goals met. And that is obviously the result of the superintendent's work. But that is not focused just on them, right? It's where the district is on those goals. And that's fair game one way or the other. It's pretty laid out. When you get into the standards, that's getting a little bit more personal on the leadership qualities of your superintendent. Take the time to read those standards. That's why it is so repetitive. If you read that and you think about it, you pretty much come down to your conclusion. If you take the time to do that, you will stay on track. It will help you focus on what it is that you are evaluating on, basically. And that's why it's so tedious. And I now understand that in more detail, having worked with multiple districts. Again, I come from, and as does everybody here, except for your one board member who's on multiple boards, your own situation. but you're probably not that aware of what's happening and what everybody else is doing in other districts. In doing this role now, after having sat in that role, it is amazing to me how different everybody does things, right? And how differently everybody looks at things. So that is why this is so important to go through that tedious work. And again, it's once a year. It's an extremely important responsibility as of a board member. There are a handful of them that the board does that are you own as responsibilities and you have the authority to do it. So focus on those and give them the energy that they deserve. But again, at the end of the day, that's part of your summary conference, right? So if you feel strongly one way and somebody else is arguing the other way, that's part of the debate and the conversation. Just do it respectfully, do it in a way, listen to the other individual. Don't listen to respond. Don't listen to defend your position. Listen. You may find yourselves coming to a consensus if you do it in that manner, right? And the different perspectives. But if you have any questions going through the process, don't hesitate. I mean, I don't want to know any confidential information. I don't want to see the conclusions. But if you have any questions that you're hitting some issues, just let me know. I'll be happy to help coach. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. And remember, if you have any questions, that's what I'm here for. And hopefully you bring me back for some other training or stuff that you're interested in.
Thank you for the training. We'd like to invite you back to see if you can join us for our board goals in the summer.
I would love that. Do me a favor, get me those dates.
Okay.
As soon as you can,
We know?
and I will block
Alright.
the time. And if you're already on my calendar, great.
We have the date right here, so we're not gonna let you leave, but thank you very much for the training.
Get you those calendars.
Okay. Summer?
So
Evaluation.
I'm gonna propose that individual responses be due in 2 weeks from tonight, May 27th. And then we would have to have a special board meeting on June 3rd to
Thank you so much.
to discuss the compilation. And then June 12th, we can deliver, Ricardo can deliver the summary to Dr. V, and then we would all meet with Dr. V on the 17th at our regular board meeting. So we'd have one special meeting on June 3rd to compile our responses, come to consensus. The 12th, I'll have to, that's the deadline for me to write everything up and have it.
That's not a meeting for us.
No. So the 27th, the two deadlines for you, the 27th to have your individual report and the 3rd for us all to meet to compile. I kept it on Wednesdays, figuring that was our regular meeting time. Right? So we would need,
That's what I was gonna ask.
yeah, we would need you to, I don't know if you want to vote on that, if we need to vote on that.
On those dates? No, I think, I don't think we have to vote on those, Carrie, but we will need to post that we're having a special meeting within 48 hours, I believe.
That is correct. It is a public meeting, so you'll have to post it as a normal meeting. You'll have to provide for public comment. But you do not need to vote on actually scheduling that meeting.
Even though it's all executive session, I'm sorry, even though it's all executive session, right?
Yes, even if it's executive session, you still have to open your meeting in public. You have to have a public comment period. And then you can go into executive session, but you do
Okay.
still have a public comment period.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, board, for the excellent questions. We will now move on to listen to citizens' comments on agenda. Have no one on the list, but do we have anyone to elevate? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments on agenda and we'll move on to our agenda items. Trustee Orth, can you please move policy and regulations 801, including our new AI policy?
I so move 801. Second.
Any questions or comments you want to add? The resolution to read a policy?
Oh, you want that here?
Yes.
Isn't that new business?
I guess it would be this. We had a second?
Yes. Trustee Kraft.
Can I please have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Velez. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Orth.
Yes.
President Martinez.
Yes, and the resolutions pass. Trustee Rodriguez, can you please move faculty and programs 901 to 904, including the revised 902 field trips and 903 conferences?
I so move F&P 901 to 904, including the revised 902 and 903.
Second.
And with second. Do you have any questions or comments on faculty and programs? Seeing none, can I have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes to all, abstention on 901.
Trustee Orth.
Yes to 901 through 903, no on 904.
President Martinez.
Yes to all. Dr. Hayes, do you have a comment on anything that didn't pass?
I believe motion passes, sir. All motions pass.
Thank you. Trustee Orth, can you please move buildings and grounds 1001?
I so move 1001.
Second.
Any questions or comments on 1001? Seeing none, can I have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Orth.
Yes.
President Martinez.
Yes, and the resolutions pass. Trustee McNeil, can you please move finance and insurance 1101 to 1128?
I move 1101 to 1128, finance and insurance.
I second.
Berlinda was second. Do you have any questions or comments on finance and insurance?
Just to reiterate my thanks to Dr. Hayes to make sure that we are caught up on the board secretary reports for the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil.
May I please have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes to all, abstention 1107.
Trustee Orth.
Yes to all.
President Martinez.
Yes to all. Resolutions pass. Trustee Kraft, can you move consent agenda 1201?
I make a motion to move CR 201.
I have a second.
I think she meant 1201, but
Well,
second.
1201, sorry.
No worries.
Second.
Do you have any questions or comments on consent agenda? Seeing none, can I have a roll call?
Trustee Coloma.
Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Orth.
Yes.
President Martinez.
Yes, and the resolutions pass. Trustee Rodriguez, can you please move personnel 1301 to 1320, including revised 09, 10, 17, and 18?
So I so move personnel items 1301 to 1320, including the revised 1310.
09?
And- Oh, yes, 1309, 1310,
17,
and-
18. All right, sorry.
13, I need classes, 1317 and 1318. Thank you.
May I please have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I please have a roll call?
Mrs. Coloma. Trustee Coloma. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yes.
Trustee Kraft.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Abstention on 1311. Yes to the remaining.
Trustee Malul. Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Orth.
Yes to all.
President Martinez.
Yes to all. Resolutions passed. I think we're a little bit out of shape with having such a long meeting, which is only an hour and a half. We will now listen to citizens' comments off agenda. We have no one signed up. Do we have anyone to elevate? Seeing none as always, I'm sorry, seeing none, period. As always,
Jinxes.
feel free to reach out to anyone on the board with questions or comments after the meeting. May I please have a motion?
Oh.
New business, I'm sorry. I do have new business. Trustee Orr?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we reestablish the Personnel Committee.
Second.
Any questions or comments on reestablishing the Personnel Committee?
I just have a question on when you'll come up, assuming we pass that we're going to have a personnel committee, when you'll come up with who's on it.
Wow.
If we pass it,
Right.
I'll start this weekend.
No,
I'm sure there'll be interest.
I don't know what the process is my question.
I'll start this weekend and I'll consult with Carrie as to whether we need to formalize that in some way because we do formalize our committees, or we do approve our committees early in the year. So we may have to put an agenda item on the next meeting.
Is it in our policy? In our policy, that like all the listing of the committees that we have, do we have it as a separate?
I think we have it, but in,
Because I believe when we originally had it a couple of years ago, the reason why we had to condense it into the F&P committee was that it wasn't listed as a committee of our board.
yeah, I mean, we
We have to
split
check our bylaws.
we split them. We combined them because of the level of redundancy between the two positions, between the two committees. Like it was literally like the same committee. 90% of it was the same.
The committees are not listed in the bylaws. It just says committees. The president shall appoint board members to serve a one-year term on the following board. Oh, no, I'm sorry, they are listed.
So we never had, I don't think we ever passed a resolution to dissolve it. We just dissolved it.
Is
We
it
j-
still listed in the bylaw? Is it still listed? Is it listed there?
It is not.
Not in the policy, so then that means we have to change the policy if we want to add it.
Harry, some advice? I see you leaning
Yes.
forward.
Thank you. Yes, so if your standing committees are typically listed in your policy, which it looks like you were just reading, so you would need to amend your policy, which I do believe you have another policy that requires 2 readings to amend one of your policies. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to do it tonight. But you certainly can look at amending that policy to add back in your personnel committee. The only thing I'll add is that I do think you'll want to consult with the superintendent, because there are some ethics rules that cover the operation of the personnel committee, and the superintendent has more authority in that area because the issue of personnel is so typically designated to the superintendent. So I'd want to be able to give you some guidance on making sure that your personnel committee abides by those ethics rules.
Would you suggest discussing this at the next policy meeting?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you can get some input from the superintendent into how he sees the personnel committee operating, because the ethics rules do provide the superintendent with a lot of authority over the structure and operation of a personnel committee. And in the meantime, my office can give you some additional guidance too, to make sure that the board stays within its ethical boundaries with the personnel committee.
Okay, thank you.
So
You're
do we need to withdraw the motion to establish a personnel committee? And I don't have to do anything about it this weekend?
Was there a second? Did I?
Was there a second?
Yes, I thought Mr.
Yes.
McNeil.
Okay, I withdraw the motion to establish a personnel committee. We'll, we'll talk about it in policy first and then bring it back to the board at a later date.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we don't have new business. Um, may I please have a motion to close the meeting?
I second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's not make these long meetings a habit.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you, Carrie.